Ooh, my, that's bright. Hey,
Hold on.
it looks good like that. You look like a whack-a-mole game.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. How's Brooklyn?
Oh, it's all right.
Is it really windy there? I heard it's really windy.
Oh, look, I have the tap hat on top of my head.
Oh, that's good. You look like, what's that, what's that painting with the apple?
Yeah. Here, hold on. Wait a second. Let me just lower this a little bit more. Okay. There we go.
Hi, Rose.
Hi.
Thanks for being the first person to do my tea time interview experiment.
Hey, I'm happy to do it anytime, Natty. It's always good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you too. It's good to see your face. We did a little Zoom thing the other day that was fun.
Yeah. Zoom is
I'm glad we
weird,
did that.
right? It's to have a party. It's a little strange.
It is strange. People are talking over each other.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I met new people, and I feel like I really met them.
Yeah.
Um,
It takes.
I don't know how many people we can expect to join. We've only got 8
Oh,
so
that's fine.
far.
I don't care. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I do care. Of course I care, but like, it's okay. Here we go. Just trying to frame up here a little bit more.
I think most people who follow us probably more or less know what you and I do together. So I'll leave that introduction a little bit short. You and I have done 2 books together about dandies, photo books, your beautiful portraits, where we traveled the world and studied extreme male elegance. And if anyone watching wants to know more about your personal background, the Blammo podcast episode of you is fantastic.
Yeah, that was really good. He
anyone who
covered a
wants to
lot.
know more about what we've done together can check out the National Arts Club podcast, probably. And you also did the Last Night at the Met style photo series
Blog
on Instagram.
Yeah,
blog.
It's an audience style blog.
Yeah, but that's also been cut short by the pandemic, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I was kind of finishing up the season with them because I don't shoot every single time, but my last time got cut short, and and then they just, of course, had to stop all the productions. So yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen again next season. That's a huge question. It's like, would be such a bummer.
Do you think that they just would have, everyone's going to have less money to do stuff?
Yeah. That's like my big fear, and I think everybody's fear is that once we get going again, there's just going to be so much less money, or just everyone's taking a hit.
Well, everyone's going to be sitting on their funds.
What?
Everyone's going to be sitting on their money instead of spending it, right?
Oh, you think after this?
Yeah, I think rich people are going to hesitate. People are going to be more careful with their money than they were before this.
I know, it's like, so yeah, possibly. I don't know.
But why don't we tell people a little bit about our current project, which has also been interrupted?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to just fix myself a glass of absinthe.
Oh, good. It's still only 4 o'clock here, so I'm still drinking tea.
Oh, you're so good.
No, it's opium tea. It's hallucinogenic mushroom tea. How much absinthe have you stocked up on?
Well, okay, it's like it's one of those things. It's not like a necessity, so.
But I would assume you guys would have already had like an absinthe cellar.
No, we just drink it. So we don't have a lot of, what we have is like about 3 gallons of rum because we hate rum and we have them from all these parties. And so
you're going to have to learn to love rum.
Yeah, I think so.
One of the things I miss the most, actually, I was thinking about this the other day, is because it's beautiful picnic weather here, and oh, that's cool. Where'd you get that?
Well, this is from the Paris flea market. We got it's like a real antique. This beautiful glass, and then this is Kelly got it somewhere. It's an antique too. It's called the Balancier.
Called the what?
Balancier, like a balance.
Balancier. Oh, cool. My God, it's hypnotic. It's like one of those birds that drinks from a fountain.
Yeah. That'll take a while.
But one of the things I was missing, because the weather's so beautiful here and it's spring and everyone's indoors, and I was thinking about your picnics and the theme parties that you and Kelly throw, which are such wonderful events in New York, and to the point where I feel like I need to find out about them further in advance so I can plan my visits around them.
Yeah, I know.
Did you have any planned before this happened?
Well, we were going to do a party for our friend Amy at our house just for her birthday because she doesn't really have a big space. So we were going to do it for her. I think, we were just thinking about like doing barbecues in our backyard, and we didn't have anything specific, but it really makes those memories really just like,
yeah.
And also what I realized, I was talking with Kelly, is that I think like the anticipation of the party is a lot of it. So the fun part is like thinking of the idea for the party and then planning it and stuff. And I think if we can still have the anticipation of a party, then it's still like kind of hopeful.
So do you think maybe the pressure's on for you to throw a really good one at the end of this?
Maybe we should start planning now. Yeah.
You could do like a vintage medicine theme and have people come as like old-timey doctors and nurses and bloodletters. Except that would just be everyone in like white coats.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
I think it's so funny to think about what people will want to do after this, because the 1918 pandemic, what happened was everybody just wanted to forget about it.
Right.
And of course you had the 20s after that. And I don't know how much, I think really the war was the biggest influence on that, but just that there was the cultural amnesia, and I'm kind of afraid of that happening. I don't want there to be like us just forget about it, but it could, there's not much control we have over that. It's about what really happens.
Yeah. It's such a strange, it's such a unique crisis in the sense that it's not, first of all, it's immense and global, so everyone's experiencing it already. So the idea of making art about it afterwards, what you're saying about the Spanish flu, there was very little, there was only one well-known novel about it written afterwards, and people didn't really make art about it very much. And that's partly because it was overshadowed by the war. But I also think when it's something that's global, that many people are experiencing at once, it's like so immense. I mean, everyone's going to want to create something about it. People are going to want to write novels about it or make paintings about it. But like, there's going to be too much of it because everyone's done it. And like, it must be weird for you as a photographer because you couldn't even really. It's already all the photographic documentary of this crisis is in hospitals or it's photos of empty streets, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so that's already been done. There's like nothing more to photograph now.
Yeah.
At least out there. So, I mean, what does this feel like to you as a photographer? I saw that you're using interesting techniques to like keep yourself busy taking pictures.
Yeah, I mean, for a photographer, especially for me, my whole art is taking pictures of people. So for portraiture, it's like, whoa. I'm not a journalist. My thing is interaction with people.
You just need a zoom lens.
Closer to people.
So you can photograph
well,
people from across the street.
You could, and people are doing that. It's just not my. I don't want that. And also, I don't want to go out and be in the world right now. I want to be home, like feeling protected.
Your photos, like notably, sort of thrive on intimacy. They are all about intimacy and about people's environments and the things they wear and carry with them.
Yeah, exactly. And like going into someone's home, and it's the experience of being kind of getting to know somebody and being closer to them and seeing their environment and how, you know, it's like, I never realized, well, I mean, I have realized how close, I mean, it is a big part of it, but I didn't realize like physically how much closeness there is. And also recently, just how much I love one-on-one interactions with people so much in photography, like just when it's me and the person is so important. But so what I've been doing now is I just like after a month of just feeling like I can't do anything, just so dead, like creatively, I was inspired by this guy, Damien Frost, and he's in England, and he was doing these really cool, he still is doing these really cool portraits that are like, he's calling them remote portraits, and they're kind of through FaceTime, and he has this whole, like, it's very him, you know, he was able to put his signature on it. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something there, like it could look visually beautiful also. It's not just like a horrible Zoom call, which can be so not pleasing visually. And so I experimented with that a bit, and then then we have this projector, this little Pico projector, and I was like, oh my God, I could beam them into my home. And like that just opened up all these possibilities for me. It just like conceptually and just like visually, and I tried a few so far, and I really like doing them. So it's really fun. I mean, I don't know if that's like has application for jobs or whatever, but it's very, to me, it's very beautiful. And like, I think I can make it even more visually like perfect, more technically better, you know? So it's exciting to think about like, oh, okay, I could, you know, and then also the process of actually doing that with the person on Zoom is kind of like interesting. And at first I was like, oh, well, what am I going to bring to it? Because they have their phone or their computer and they're putting it somewhere, but I was like, I had to direct them where it should go and, you know, what lighting and where, you know, so it was very much like I was directing. And so
you're directing two shoots at once, their shoot in their home with their camera, and then you in your home with your camera. Right. So you're sort of like accounting for their lighting and yours and all this stuff.
So but the process seems really fun, so I'm gonna just keep on doing it and see where it goes. But I'm like, you know, before this happened, I was full force doing the book we're working on, which we haven't talked about yet, but I was just like, you know, we had that really tight deadline, and I was like full force, fifth gear, like shooting every other day, every other day, and it was it felt so good, and I was like getting into this really good rhythm, and then it was just like, you know.
I know it's one of those things where like it's always nice to hear that the deadline's been extended, but at the same time, it's, I mean, it sucks to have everything completely. I mean, you and I. So let's talk a little bit about this project. We were supposed to meet.
Cheers, Natty.
We were supposed to meet at the end of this month in France, and then go to England. To work on this project. So can you tell people who aren't familiar with it what we're doing for book 3?
So, well, for book 3, we are...
I'd like to hear you say it, because you also had to kind of slightly talk me into it in the first place.
Okay. Well, I think I'm just gonna, like, I don't know. Okay. So the book 3 is going to be, it's kind of, okay. I think I'm gonna back up, because the way I like to describe it is because you have to kind of know what we did before. So we did 2 books. that were on dandies, and it was like this laser focus on people that embody this, and it was all men.
Right.
And so I felt like after the second book, We Are Dandy, I had to do a lot of soul searching to kind of find out, well, okay, like take this apart from this specific style and what's interesting. And so I had to just like find out what is interesting about this. Why have I been so interested in investigating like what people wear and personal style and stuff? And I think that so what I found was that it just like for me, what I had to do is expand it beyond just men, just dandies, and to see like where are those other amazing people that are kind of creating their identity through style, really. And it's this way that like people find to express themselves through style. And to me, that's just so fascinating, because it's really, I guess it's just, it delights me, but it also fascinates me. And I sympathize with them because I like this too, and feel like it's my life also. And so I guess like, I just want to expand and to see those other people in the world. And it just so happens, since we focus so much on men, that it was like, okay, shift the gaze.
Right. Well, when we did public events, we always got asked, what about women? What about women? What about women? And after a while, I felt we just couldn't really dodge that question anymore. And we were like, yeah, what about women? Why not women? Why haven't we explored that? And I think for me, I was not afraid, but I was I was uncertain about it, because there isn't a sort of easy archetype like dandy for me to wrap my head around. It was like, well, is it just women with iconic style, or is it women with individual style, or is it, you know, there wasn't a word for female dandy. There still isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some contenders, but they don't really sound very good. But
right.
Yeah. So I think conceptually, it was harder for me to kind of reckon with.
Right. Yeah. I think like it's really helpful to go back and look at those people in the past as inspiration that have embodied that. And I always go back to like Marchesa Casati, Peggy Guggenheim, like the great eccentrics in the world, Marlene Dietrich, Josephine Baker. I mean, there's many, and there's a lot more than I even know about right now, which is like one of the things that's going to be interesting, I think, to like experience with the book.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was also a little worried before I started shooting whether it was really going to be what I thought it was going to be. And when I started actually shooting it, it's like felt really, really right, and really like good, and it's just as fascinating as like anything I've done before. And so that was just so wonderful to.
It does feel a little bit like it's kind of going back more to the experience of the first book than the second, because it is like, with the second book, we had a template, and we were, you know, and people were reaching out to us rather than us having to hunt all over the world for them in the same way. But this time it seems like we're not quite back to where we were the first time, but it's like it very much is like a learning as we go, or but discovering new things as we go, more so than book number 2, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah. I know it's hard to not just like relate one to the other, but I just know that I know that the people are there, and like the interesting subjects are there, and that's just really exciting. And also just to see my interactions with the people I photographed so far have been really cool and different than other people, like with the dandy portraits. And what I've noticed is that I guess it kind of feels like, you know, before I was an outsider, like I was curious and like interested in them as a outside, like as other than me, you know?
Right.
And now I feel more sympathetic towards the person I'm photographing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it seems like I've been doing a lot more just one-on-one photographing with them, whereas like
Yeah.
before you were with me, or sometimes, I mean, yeah, for the second book.
Right.
And but the one-on-one thing is like really great. I'm totally digging it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's terrific. Do you feel like there's I mean, like, and this is just to generalize, do you think that there's a kind of typical difference between the way women behave when you shoot them versus the way men tend to behave when you shoot them? I mean, obviously, we're talking about quite like outlying people. We're not talking about the typical person on the street. We're talking about eccentric fashion people. But is there any kind of
Yeah.
noticeable like thing you could say, oh, well, men are more like this, women are more like this in terms of your photography?
I think yeah, I mean, it's definitely felt different to photograph the women that I've photographed so far. A lot of them are like people I know already, so it's hard
Right.
to judge completely. Um, but I feel like they're definitely more willing. It's kind of like a girl, sorry. It's like a bonding kind of thing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas maybe with the guys, it's more like, I think they appreciated that I was interested
Yeah.
in them, and you know, the photo shoots, I like the photo shoots and they're fun, but I don't think there was like a camaraderie,
Mm,
you
yeah.
know, or
That
like
actually,
maybe.
when you were a kid, did you play dress up with your girlfriends?
Oh yeah.
That's interesting, and that's something I've never asked any of the men, because I never really did that. I wonder if they did, but it seems like it's something that's a way that young girls often play.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
what this is like a grown up version of like, well, we're checking out what we have in our closets and stuff, and maybe it makes more sense for when you do that one on one with a woman for it to feel more like a.
Kelly said he did. He played dress up.
I feel like I wore costumes, but I didn't like, I wasn't showing off my clothes or something like that.
Yeah.
In the
I
same
think
way.
it's just like because I'm a woman, they maybe feel more comfortable just revealing more or being a little more intimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's hard to tell, you know, when I'm photographing people that I don't know really well.
Right.
But it has been really, really good so far.
Yeah. One thing that's been a common thread in everything we've done, especially in everything you've done, including Last Night in the Met, is elegance and your love of elegance and your belief in how important it is. Um, what good is elegance in a time like this, particularly maybe for people who don't have the privilege or luxury of experiencing it easily? We can say, oh, well, everyone's got a Wi-Fi now, they can go look at pretty stuff online or something, but it's not quite, that simple. So what do you think, where can one find elegance, and what good does it do?
That is a really good question. I don't, it's very hard to know what role elegance plays, but I'll tell you what it does is that it lifts your spirits to see other people dressed up or having fun, even if they're at home. Like yesterday with the Easter, like, you know, everybody would have gone to the Easter parade on Fifth Avenue and gotten
Right.
totally dressed up. And we couldn't. So, but everybody, you know, a lot of people still dressed up, and that was just, I loved that. That was just fabulous to see that. And I mean, I think if somebody really enjoys that and needs that in their lives, it doesn't go away, you know?
Right.
I know that for me, I mean, yeah, it's like we're not going out, and we would normally go out like on the weekends.
Sure.
And get dressed up, and that's like part of my life and me and Kelly's life. And so, and usually if I haven't dressed up or done something, you know, gotten like I guess it's like really the going out part that's the fun part, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't normally dress up just to be at home at all.
Okay.
Like, when I'm at home, I'm very comfortable and just like, to me, you know, this was like, I got dressed up.
Okay, yeah.
Like, and I love that, but like, I wouldn't do them going out. And so I think the going out part and interacting and socializing is a big part of it.
Do
So
you
it's
put on
hard
makeup
to
every
know.
day? Even if you don't have a Zoom meeting or anything?
Yeah.
No. I mean, why would you?
But I mean, I have actually questioned that. So I'm like, okay, I don't put on makeup every day because like it just seems like a waste, right? Like, but now I'm like, now that I don't have that chance to go out and like being forced to get dressed up and everything, like now I kind of feel like, yeah, maybe I do need that actually just for myself.
Right.
Yeah, it's, oh boy, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that elegance matters even this time too?
I like to think it does. I mean, I think it might also just come down to the person. I think there's some people out there who, what matters to them is like, you know, they miss, I don't know, jet skiing around a lake or something. Like that's the, you know, they miss watching baseball or something. You know, it's like maybe that's what this is to us. Maybe to aesthetes like us, what we cherish is elegance, and maybe we're lucky because, you know, if we're the kind of person who can have that in their home. I mean, I can, here, I'll show you. Look here, I can look out the window and see, you know, the French Quarter.
Yeah, I love that view. That was such a beautiful view.
I feel incredibly lucky that I'm sheltering here rather than, you know, in some other place. But I don't know if elegance is just a kind of, it's just our thing, or if it's more universal than that. I'm not sure if it's something that's just for some people to value.
I think it is, actually. I think it is. I mean, I think other people like are like, okay, so I've been getting into gardening.
I was going to ask you about this next. Yeah.
I'm basically totally obsessed with gardening. We put in the garden, like the raised beds last year. And so since then I've been like, okay, I want to like learn more, and it's just really fun. And yeah, I mean, the gardeners, they don't get dressed up. They have their little looks and stuff. It's cute, but like, no, they're not getting dressed up. And but
a wide brimmed hat.
I think it's just, you know, it's just our thing, but that doesn't make it less important. I don't think. I think that if this is like a need, and I feel like it's a need, you know, it's something that I love to do, and I've always loved to do it all my life, is to like find outfits and get dressed up, and it is a lot connected with socializing. So I mean, that's like, not to have the reason to go out and get dressed up is just like,
yeah, it's like if a dandy dresses up and there's no one around to see him, is he still a dandy?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's what did you say before that a second ago? You had a point there that was I wanted to touch upon.
I don't know.
Okay, sorry, lost my
oh, Kelly says my 30s gardener hat is cute. Oh, thank you.
Well, that's good.
I love, okay, so that was just as an aside. So my 30s gardener hat that I got that he's talking about is something where it was just at an antique store and it was really cheap, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I got it and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's like a little, it's kind of a piss helmet, almost like the way that it's constructed.
Okay.
It's very soft and it's totally 1930s. And
awesome.
So that's what I wear when I'm gardening.
Okay, well, that's perfect. When I've been painting lately, and I have like an old like 1950s work suit that I wear, so I can like just wipe my brushes on my knee and stuff. What I was going to say, actually, to your earlier point, when we talk about whether elegance is something that's, you know, just for certain people or matters to certain people, or whether it's something that anyone can kind of appreciate or participate in.
Oh, here's the hat.
Oh, lovely. It's sort of Mrs. Marple. Love it.
It has a little.
Oh yeah, that's great. It's got little vents.
Little vents, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really soft. I love it.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say, you know, whether elegance is something that's like just for the elite or whether it's something that anyone can participate in, it's interesting because it's one of these things like food and like shelter that everyone needs to wear something, right? But some people care about it like more than others. Everyone needs to eat, but some people care about it more than others.
Right.
You know, some people are gourmets, but everyone has to eat. Some
Right.
people are fashion plates, but everyone has to wear clothes, or almost everyone. So I guess that's kind of a way to think of it. I'm a little curious about your garden. So first, what kind of garden is it? What are you growing? And how does elegance figure into your garden or your imagined future garden?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Just because before you answer, because it's interesting because gardening is a really slow thing. It's not like you can just buy an outfit and put it on. You're planning something that's going to take years to get to the point that you're picturing it.
Okay, but just back up for a second. So you were saying
sorry.
about like being a gourmet dresser or something. I think that like it's not really you know, most of the time, like people who are interested like us in clothes or people that I photograph or you interview, it's really goes beyond clothes also.
Right.
So, it's like aesthetics in general are really, really important. And so that just like is a need, you know. It doesn't, it's not a frivolous thing because it's really like something that comes from your heart, you know.
Right.
So for gardening, that's so like anything in the garden, I just want to look really pretty too. Sure. And this is actually kind of like a difficult thing because most of when I do research or like watch YouTube videos or something and techniques of gardening, it's not about what it looks like at all.
Right. Interesting.
It's the process. And there's a few people that are into the like the way it looks and kind of like making it pretty. I mean, I want to do composting, but I want a pretty compost pile.
Are you trying to do is it vegetable garden? Is it like a combination of things, or is it?
Yeah, so we are in a rental apartment and we have a really big backyard. And we haven't really done much with it the few years that we've been here, but now like it's just become something I really want to do. And so we built some vegetable beds. And so we're growing vegetables, but there's also just a lot of other areas in the garden. I want to grow flowers and kind of like rejigger the layout a bit. And it's just kind of plain at the moment. And so there's just like all these plants I want to grow. And like, I am just getting really into, yeah, so I'm getting into growing the vegetables, which is really something I love, but I'm also just keep on wanting to expand and find the flowers that I love and the colors that I love. And, and so, yeah, aesthetics definitely are a part of it for sure. And I think that it is a very, very interesting experience to garden because it is incredibly slow. It's like so slow. I thought I was patient. I'm very, very patient, but like, oh my God, whew, you know, and especially coming at it new and I don't know what to expect. And, but it's like such a wonderful experience because it totally connects you with nature in a hugely new way for me. And everybody says that, but it's like to experience that is really, really cool because I look at the weather every day and I'm thinking, oh, like not just about how the plants are going to do, but I don't know. It's like, it connects you with the seasons more. And it's a wonderful thing. Like that is fabulous. And I would recommend it to anybody, but it's just like anything. You know, you have to be into it if you want to
Right.
like get obsessed about it, you know. You
Yeah.
can't do it with everything, but just being able to be connected to nature like that is really
Mm.
great. And I always thought I was a person that loved nature. You know, I grew up in the woods, but this is like a whole different thing. Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, I think of the Romantic movement and their obsession with gardens. They love to have wild gardens because it was about this encounter with nature. But then I think about our dandy books, and I think that most of the dandies we met were very much urban creatures, with exceptions that were very notable, like Lord Whimsy, obviously, and then in the second book, Kawaii-san, who photographed flowers. So he had this but there was also a very different kind of relationship. He wasn't growing the flowers, I don't think, but there's that. I mean, I don't know. I've never tried gardening. Sarah's got a few houseplants, but I've never done it, and it's a weird juxtaposition because it's like you're trying to create something beautiful and elegant, but you have to get dirty in order to do it, and you have to take a long time.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It wouldn't spring to mind as like a very dandy thing to do to me.
Yeah, that's okay.
A garden seems like a garden seems like a very dandy thing to have, but not a very dandy thing to have to do. And
I mean, when I'm gardening, I love to get my hands in the dirt, and it feels really, really good. Yeah, I don't know. I never thought about it as whether it's a dandy thing or not. I think that being connected with, like, nature is the ultimate beauty. And so looking at nature and like how a flower grows and blooms, I mean, looking at the stages that it has, like that's the ultimate beauty. And so like that is dandy. I mean, there's, you know, like an orchid is the dandy flower. You know what I mean?
Okay. Not a bird of paradise?
Yeah, that too.
That's the punk rock flower.
Well, okay, so a bit on that line is where I came up with the title for the next book, or the working title, The Rare Birds of Style. So to me, that came about because I think actually when I first started shooting dandies, I thought of them as like rare birds because they kind of, you know, they have the different plumage and it's all fantastic and very unusual and stuff. And so like connecting it back to nature is like, to me, that makes a lot of sense because you see these, I mean, you've been starting to bird watch, right?
Yeah, true.
Right. So tell me about that.
Well, actually, while we were talking, there was an Acadian flycatcher across the street on the roof. I've been bird watching here because it's. I regret now not doing it in New York because there are a ton of beautiful birds up there too. But here it's kind of, there are a lot of big birds here, like pelicans and spoonbills and ravens. So vultures. I mean, occasionally you see red-tailed hawks and stuff. So the birds are kind of more noticeable, I think. Whereas in New York, it's mainly overrun by pigeons and sparrows. So it's kind of hard to see through that and like see the really exciting ones. So that's been interesting. And it's funny because when we were doing the books, there definitely were times when we were being interviewed and we would like make an analogy to like, oh yeah, we're photographing dandies in the wild or in their natural habitat. We're using language of the, naturalists to talk about this phenomenon, which is a very human, I guess, quote unquote artificial phenomenon. Actually, it's people dressing themselves up or something, rather than naturally occurring that way. But I don't know. Birdwatching has been it's a weird thing. It's not as I don't quite understand why it feels so rewarding because you're really not doing anything but being like, oh, okay, what's that, and then identifying it. But you feel like you've accomplished something. It really feels good if you can start recognizing their calls. That's really a nice kind of feeling.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've only got that with like a couple things, but there's a pair of blue jays that live here, and they're very sweet. And they wake me up in the mornings because they're one of their calls is a lot like an alarm clock. So
Oh,
I wake up
you're
to
gonna
that.
get good at these calls. Oh my God, I know this.
Yeah. During this isolation and this pandemic and everything, you've had a lot of time to spend in the garden, right? When this is done, do you think that people are going to? How do you think people will be different than they were before? I mean, what hopes do you have, and I guess what fears do you have of how people might end up?
Yeah, it is a really bit. It's a lot about hopes and fears because, like, I hope that people keep this in their heart and like the feeling that okay, well, we can get things taken care of if we, there's definitely that feeling of togetherness and that like the whole world has to go this same experience,
Yeah.
essentially, and so that's really really extraordinary and kind of wonderful, that everybody is hurting, I would just in some way, and so I would hope, like my dream would be that we can, like, as a whole global like community, get together to solve other problems.
Right.
Like
we haven't done a very good job of getting together this time, so hopefully in the future. But yeah, we're facing a generational reckoning with our own mortality. Like
I think
everyone is face to face with the possibility of death now, and like the death of someone they love, possibly.
Oh yeah, I mean, I started writing. I've been meaning to, write down information, like in case I died suddenly. And so I finally did. I wrote down all this stuff to give to Kelly, and, like, because it could happen and it could happen really quickly. So that, yeah, definitely, like the facing mortality, and then also just worrying about, like, my mom or people close to you. And I mean, that's so real.
Yeah.
But I think really what this is going to do is change fundamentally, like how we socialize. I think that technology is going to be a even huger part of interaction with people. I think that it's kind of a little bit like the analogy of digital and analog, where like with photography, I think like the analog has become super kind of rarefied and but still there. It's
right.
like. And I think that now personal interactions will be more rarefied and
interesting,
super premium.
You don't think people will go like crazy in the other direction and just be making love in the streets and
No idea.
Yeah.
I think I well, okay, so it kind of goes back to what I was saying before about, like, I hope that people don't have the amnesia that they had after the Spanish flu influenza epidemic or pandemic in 1918, because I don't want people, like, I want like, it just would suck, I think, to just have people like forget about it,
Right.
I think there's a part of me that thinks people are just going to go crazy. Yeah, in a good way, like just party for like 10 years. But
I mean, I guess we'll have to see if people learn any lessons from this, or decide to behave differently or interact with other people and the environment differently than they did before.
Yeah, I think it maybe depends on how long it goes on, because for instance, I grew up in California, and we always had droughts and stuff. So to me, hearing water coming out of a water faucet for too long is like nails on a chalkboard. I can't deal with it.
Right.
Because that was so ingrained when I was little. So I think maybe the kids that are growing up during this time, depends on how long it goes on, are very maybe germaphobes or something. I don't know.
Right.
I also think that a lot of people are remote now. And I think that a lot of maybe those jobs will remain remote because the businesses might think like, well, if we could save all this rent if we don't have to have a
that's interesting.
I think that's definitely going to happen because why? I mean, if you had all these people working for 6 months remotely and they got their shit done, why would you go back to renting a gigantic office in Manhattan?
Right. Good point. I hadn't thought of that. I mean, I've sort of, you and I get to work from home anyway, so we kind of take it for granted. I mean, it's not that, this isn't that different from my typical day.
It isn't. It's funny. It's so not different. The only difference for me is that, you know, Kelly's home and then we don't go out on the weekends.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Otherwise, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. Do you have any post-COVID resolutions or things that you'd like to do more or do for the first time or the things that you're like, oh, I need to seize this opportunity to do this?
Yeah, I guess maybe I don't have resolutions. I mean, I know that now, like, because we think about everything we lost, and I think about all those, like, just last month, you know, going to parties and interacting with people so easily, and it's just so natural, and I guess like now I just wouldn't take those for granted, and it really is very important, you know, like the personal interaction is like so important, even more. I mean, I always feel like I cared about that, but even more. But one other thing. So I have this thing that I've always thought, like, okay, you know how people are like, oh, New York, will it ever go back to the 70s or something? You know, like the decline. And I always thought, like, okay, the way that, like, if there was another kind of migration away from the cities, it would probably be caused by, I always thought it would be like a huge, maybe digital, like, kind of catastrophe. But this could very well do that because I think what happened in the 70s was just like you had people like this whole tax base moving away from the city, right? And so now, since people maybe there'll be like a big percentage of people that are remote, and they end up like, they're like, why should I stay in the city and just move somewhere else? And so we have like this mass exodus.
That's it. I mean, we also just might have a lot of people who can't afford to live in the city after several months of this.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll behave differently towards people after this? Because I was thinking, I want to try to be, I'd like to think that I'm going to try to be more straightforward with people. Maybe.
Why?
Maybe I might, just because this, you know, it's kind of thing like, well, life could end so quickly. I'd like to flirt more, I think. No, but I'd like to be more upfront and honest. Well, not that I'm dishonest with people, but that I'd like to. Yeah, I'd like to be more straightforward, I guess. I hope maybe that's something that could come out of this. People would realize that they've only got one chance to talk to other people. Sometimes, you know. And that it's probably better to really speak your mind. Kelly says I'm very upfront. I am. It's true. I don't know how much more straightforward I can be. But yeah.
Yeah,
That and I want to ride horses.
it's so hard to know. It's so hard to know how it would change. Gosh, I mean, I just feel like, to me, just like like appreciating every time that I get to be together with people is really, really important. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to end it. I think that's wonderful. I'm glad that you got to be the first person I speak to on this, and
yeah,
I'm excited that we're gonna do this book eventually.
yeah.
I've still got to catch up with you, but I've got writing to do. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm so excited to start shooting again, but like I also have no idea when the hell I'm gonna be able to do
everyone
it.
keeps saying like, "Oh, you must be so happy you've got all this like uninterrupted time to write." And I'm like, I can't fucking like focus on anything right now. Are you kidding me?
Oh God, no, seriously, this is like how
it's so
because
hard to focus on work. It's crazy.
I mean, especially when it first started, I feel like now I'm like, I don't know, like we've kind of gotten over this hump. It's like, okay, I guess this is what life is like for a little while.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't focus on anything, and I mean, just not knowing, what the future was gonna, what the hell was gonna go on and everything, and it's like, I guess that is still happening, but I mean, I wouldn't say it's like, it might be a productive time for other people, but it is not the good recipe for like having a productive time. Is like worrying about that you might touch other people. Go to the grocery store and stuff.
It'll be interesting to see what making this book is going to be like for us after this, in terms of how people might behave on photo shoots now. Like our book signings. I mean, do we have separate pens? And I don't know what people are going to worry about after this.
Right. Like well, I feel like if people are going to be out and interacting, then it's either, maybe it's not either or, but it kind of feels like that. It's like, are you really going to how would you really protect yourself if you're going out to a party and like a mask is not going to protect you? There's really no way.
Maybe we could all start bowing like the Japanese. Be good.
Yeah, definitely less handshake.
I have a feeling I'm going to get in trouble because now I'm just going to like hug my friends for too long. And they're like, "Come on, Natty, stop." And I'm like, "I missed you."
Yeah. I mean, and does this kind of interaction somehow it satisfies a little bit. There's a part that's satisfied, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know what it is, but it doesn't do everything.
Right. No.
And that's really interesting to think about. I think we've kind of gone through a long time since we have so many interactions like online, we've kind of, we're used to that. Like we know that, like, okay, when you text with somebody, it's one kind of interaction. When you have a relationship with them on Instagram, it's another interaction. Like, but these aren't all, they're never going to be the in-person interaction.
Yeah. Thanks for this interaction. I've really enjoyed it. And tomorrow, same time, I'm going to be talking with my friend Denver Nix.
Cool.
And if this goes on long enough, I'm sure we'll look back and do this again.
Okay,
we can give each other updates. Lots
you
of
have to think of a name for your show, Natty.
I'm quarantine.
What?
Quarantine time?
Quarantine time. Oh, okay. Did you already have that?
I don't know. No, I hadn't thought of anything yet. I'll think of something.
But you and Sean's show should be called Ultimate Bollocks, or what did you say? Just Bollocks?
Utter Bollocks.
Utter Bollocks.
Yeah.
That's your name.
Yeah, it's good. All right.
All right.
Night. Enjoy your absinthe.
Bye. Love you.